How did you improve your self-confidence as a man? I hear often as a tip, but I find it hard to implement. I feel like confidence is a big general concept, and I'd much rather use a clear and simple or dumb process or method to improve. Not looking for any life coaches or online schemes. Just a clear and simple guide I can take alongside my life to be a more confident man. I'd rather hear what worked for you personally. Thanks in advance. Hey man, I've actually asked myself this same question before. How do I become more confident? Not just look confident, but actually feel it inside. For the longest time, it felt like confidence was something other people were born with, and I was just missing the manual. But here's what I've learned. Confidence isn't some magical feeling that suddenly appears. It's not a one-time achievement. It's more like a slow build, like stacking bricks day after day until one day you look up and realize you've built something solid. And honestly, what worked for me was simpler than I expected, just not easy. I started with one idea: do hard things on purpose. For me, that meant going to the gym regularly. Not to impress anyone and everyone or get ripped for Instagram. Just to keep a promise to myself. Every time I didn't want to go but still showed up, it was like I was casting a vote for the kind of man I wanted to be. That quiet discipline gave me a kind of internal respect I hadn't felt before. It reminded me that I was capable of doing things, even when they were uncomfortable. Along the way, I realized something important. Confidence grows when you keep the promises you make to yourself. We all know how bad it feels when someone breaks a promise to us. Now imagine what happens when we do that to ourselves over and over. So I made a habit of following through, even with the small stuff, like waking up when I said I would, cleaning up after myself, finishing tasks I'd normally procrastinate. These weren't glamorous things, but over time they built a kind of quiet trust. I started believing myself when I said I'd do something. Another shift happened when I began allowing myself to speak more honestly. I'd spent so much time overthinking what people might think of me, always trying to sound right or avoid awkwardness. But I reached a point where I thought, what if I just said what I actually thought and stopped filtering myself so much? That was tough at first, but freeing. And funny enough, people responded better when I was being real, even if I stumbled over my words or didn't sound polished. It turns out authenticity is way more attractive than trying to be perfect. There were still times I doubted myself. Honestly, there still are. But one thing that helped was looking back at my wins. Not just the big, dramatic ones, but the small victories too. Times it kept going when I could have quit. Moments I handled something better than I used to. I wrote some of them down. It sounds cheesy, but when you're feeling low, those reminders can be powerful. They help you see the evidence that you're not some failure just because you're having a rough day. One more thing that made a bigger difference than I expected: stepping away from social media. It was draining me more than I realized. Every scroll was another opportunity to compare myself to someone else's carefully curated highlight reel. It made me feel like I was always behind, always lacking. But when I took a break, I started focusing on my own life again. I stopped measuring my worth by likes or achievements I hadn't reached yet. I got more present. And that, surprisingly, made me feel way more secure in who I am. So to answer your question, confidence didn't come to me all at once, and I don't walk around feeling like a superhero every day. But by showing up for myself consistently, being honest, and giving myself space to grow without constant comparison, I built something real. Something that doesn't depend on what others think of me. And that, I think, is the kind of confidence that lasts. Hope this helps, man. Respect for asking something so real.